Hi everyone! Welcome to my tutorial on how to repaint your KitchenAid mixer. In this video I will give you step-by-step instructions on how to successfully paint your KitchenAid to get the color you've always wanted. First, it's important to take off as much of the hardware as you feel comfortable removing. I took off the plate on the bottom where the bowl fits in simply by removing the 3 screws holding it in place. Then I removed the screw on the top of the back piece of the KitchenAid, thus allowing me to take off the back cap. Then I was able to remove the 2 screws that hold the silver band in place. Make sure to put all of your screws in a baggie so they don't get lost. You can choose to do the next step before or after sanding your KitchenAid. I decided to sand my mixer first, but then realized how difficult it was not to scratch the other plastic and metal pieces that could not be removed. I used some painter's tape to carefully tape anything that was not going to get painted and could not be removed from the KitchenAid. This is a really important step. It requires precision to get the lines perfect when you're painting. Take your time and take a lot of care. Use an X-Acto knife or a utility knife to get around the edges and to tuck the painter's tape around any bolts or screws that cannot be removed. Most KitchenAid mixers have a large sticker on the back side. I was able to peel off the top layer, then simply take my utility knife and scrape the rest off. Don't worry if you don't get all of the label, your sander will remove the little pieces. One mistake that I made was wrapping the motor with painter's tape. I would not try this. When I removed the tape, it pulled on a small wire, which in turn messed up the speed of my mixer. In order to avoid this, gently put a plastic bag around the motor and tape closed with no tape touching the motor. You just want to keep your motor protected from any paint without disturbing it. I used a 120 grit 3M sanding sponge and really sanded my whole mixer. The more you sand, the better the bond with the spray paint. When you're finished sanding, it's important to wipe the mixer with a damp cloth to get all of the paint dust off of it before you spray the mixer with spray paint. As soon as it's completely dry, you can start painting. Make sure that you are in an open, well-ventilated area like a garage with the door wide open or outside in the fresh air. Spray paint is very poisonous and can really make you sick if you don't use it in a well-ventilated area. If you are using it in your garage with the garage doors open, I would still suggest using a mask. It is a very strong chemical. I ended up using Krylon Color Max paint and primer because they had the color I liked. Rust-Oleum brand is great too. You really want to be careful when you're spray painting the mixer. I started with the mixer up and just lightly sprayed, circling the mixer, trying not to stay in any one place too long. This is how you avoid drips. If you've never spray painted before, don't stand too close until you get comfortable with the appropriate distance. Give your mixer a good spray and then let it sit for a little while. Krylon spray paint dries pretty fast. You shouldn't have to wait too long until you go back and do more coats. Make sure you are getting in all of the nooks and crannies. Once things are dry enough, put the top of the mixer down. Then spray paint the area in the back. Don't forget to spray paint the cap that goes in the back of your mixer. Once you feel like you've gotten a very good, thick, opaque coat, just leave it and let it dry. I let mine dry for about 24 hours before I started the glossy top coat. For the gloss top coat, I used Rust-Oleum High Gloss Clear Durable Top Coat. The spray that came out of this bottle definitely had bigger droplets than the Krylon spray paint. I was a little nervous at first, but then realized if you just keep spraying evenly, it becomes very even and shiny. Be very careful with this top coat. It can drip much more easily than the spray paint. So keep moving, don't stay in one spot too long. It's really up to you how thick you'd like your top coat to be. I probably put on about 2 to 3 coats. I did 2 coats the first day and then let it sit for 24 hours to cure, put another coat on. Then I let it sit for 2 days before I carefully put the hardware back on and took off all of the painter's tape. At this point, I used my utility knife to flake off any paint that had gotten under the painter's tape and to straighten any lines. I did not use my mixer for quite a while after. I wanted to make sure that the top coat was completely cured. It truly looked like it was painted this way from the factory. It was a bit time consuming with the sanding, but very enjoyable and so exciting to see it transform with each step. I would recommend anyone trying this, just be very careful with your motor. Good luck!